this is the first ever live Connect show podcast.
Oh, that's right.
All
Live from Connect.
Fourth time? Fifth time? Fifth? Fourth? Do we know? Do we remember it either?
I don't know. It's like SNL, like
I know.
5-timers.
I think you're in the 5-timers club, and I think you might be the only one in the 5-timers club. But man, I appreciate you sitting.
No, I love having.
So, but like, we'll just do this. Also, we got Johnathon, Duhon here.
Yeah.
All right.
Good. Johnathon. Yeah.
Got the good
Excited,
stuff, man.
Oh,
Second time. All right. Let's start you. I'd like to hear, before we get started in some of the meat and potatoes, we've got some stuff to talk about with Texas. Senate Bill's at the Senate Bill 1236. There's another one I think on deck as well. And so what stuff is happening in your store? I want to hear a little bit of the origin story. Yeah. Yeah. With it feels like everyone has a better relationship with Tarrytown than I do. Apparently, Josh has one. We have a little bit of a coaching tree from Tarrytown. It seems like.
Yeah, man. Rannon and I, it's funny to think now, 7, 8, 9 years, right? So my initial position, PioneerRx as a consultant. So I get put in that Austin area, and you spend some time. You get your face out there. You get over to some locations, and then you walk into Tarrytown, and then you meet Rannon, right?
Yeah.
So it's been incredible. It's been an awesome kind of progression, right? You guys coming onto the product and just continuing to grow that, innovate it. It's fun, man. I learned a lot at that time, but definitely every time you leave a call, a meeting, a quick interaction with Rannon, it's intentional.
And you were living in Austin, right?
I was
at the time too.
Yeah.
So that was like the best part about it. So because our Pioneer origin story was in 2016. Actually, so I had worked at Tarrytown since I was 18, right? So I started there in like 2009.
You told me that before, but I feel like I forgot it.
Dude, isn't it wild? Yeah. So I started there when I was a freshman at UT.
Wow.
And so I worked through pharmacy school. I graduated, and then I worked at a chain for a little bit, and then I came back in 2015.
Okay.
But then I came back, and we had an old computer system, right? It was still the same one I was using from like when I started, and it was pretty bad. But we were looking at new systems, and it was the Pioneer Connect show in San Antonio in 2016. Or either 2015 or 2016. But then we went over and visited, and it was between Pioneer and another competitor, which we won't say, but it was so awesome. We got to meet the team and see the product, and see how it could help us. And whenever we switched, they said, hey, we're going to assign you a like on-site consultant. They'll be there. They're nearby. They're going to pop in, and it was Johnathon. So it was so good. So it was so fun when you're like, oh yeah, we're going to do the podcast with Johnathon. I was like, great. We have a long-standing relationship.
Right on.
Yeah, I also remember, we worked on our shelves, our OTC shelves together. Like we did a lot of stuff.
We did a lot.
Yeah,
we touched a lot.
Nothing like cutting, nothing like bleeding during inventory, right? Like that's.
Everyone has their story about their conversion, right, and stuff. But mine was, I had all these lofty goals because I was used to pre-check and all this stuff. So I was like, all right, we're gonna go from no print queue to we're gonna add a print queue. We're gonna do pre-check and all this stuff. And then I think it was in the first 45 minutes. I was like, turn off pre-check, like hold up. I was like, cool. I was a little ambitious, but we're all good now.
We're good now.
And we were able to stack, but it was so funny because I remember that first day, it was tough, but man, never looked back. It's been awesome. And so people like Johnathon and you guys and the whole team, it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
Yeah,
and print queue is live now in Tarrytown. So
there we go.
That's right. Exactly.
We turned it on. All right, man. So we got some updates with Texas. Let's talk about the state of Texas.
We'll talk Texas.
We're
in Dallas right now.
I know, we're in Dallas. We had some good momentum. Still seems like from a state by state perspective, and even nationally too, although slower than anybody wants, but happening a little bit with Senate Bill 1236, man. Like me and you just got through time talking a little bit about it. If you can give us a little bit of your interpretation, what that means for Texas pharmacies.
Yeah, for sure. So SB 1236 is huge, right? So in a world where, it's like the little guys, we're independent pharmacies, we're even working with chain pharmacies, it's just us against, the PBMs, right? So we have a lot of ground to make up. And I feel like over the past, like in Josh's slide, he mentioned from the, PCMA Rutledge case from 2020 until now, there's so much education that's going on. There's so much work that all the different state and federal organizations are doing. There's just a lot of, like I said, momentum's the best word for it. But SB 1236 was a priority legislation for us here at Texas Pharmacy Association. So I'm on the board, and I know that was a big collaboration between a lot of folks that are wanting that reform. But that was one of like our top priorities for TPA, was getting some sort of PBM legislation pushed through. And we knew it would be an uphill battle. We always had like some not competitors, but we had some challenges in the last session. And Texas, the legislative session is only every other year. So you really only have, it's every 2 years. And so if you miss your chance, you're not waiting till next year or next session. I mean, you're having to wait quite a long time, and people change seats. There's new players. All the committees change up. So it's definitely something that was important to us. So 1236 has a couple of key provisions.
Yeah.
I've got them down here.
That's
so
good.
Don't forget them.
You're good. No, you need them there.
But at the heart of what it does is one of the big issues that we've had in the past is we actually passed some really great legislation in 2019, 2021 for PBMs. It was one of like a huge win. But the problem is, it's great. You have the legislation. How are you going to do the enforcement, right? So someone says, hey, you can't do this bad practice. Like, we have a anti-steerage bill in Texas right now from one of the past sessions, but it only applies right now to certain types of plans. But the only plans they apply to have this little mark on the actual insurance card to identify it. So this bill, actually, the first thing it does is help kind of require some sort of ID number, identifier type, or just something that if we could run a report, we can find it really quickly. Or even like the Texas Department of Insurance, if someone filed a complaint, they almost wouldn't even know if it's a plan that they can, is under the purview of this previous bill or not. So now it just makes it so that, hey, if we're going to try to enforce it, let's actually know what we need to apply it to. So that was huge. It also talks about limitations on post-adjudication payment adjustments, so specifically around like audit protections. And so I can get into that a little bit more. So basically, a PBM or a benefit plan, they can't deny or reduce claim payments to a pharmacy or a pharmacist after the claim adjudication, except in certain cases like just straight up fraud or a duplicate payment, or even something like what we called them was clerical errors, right? So like in the past, we've been audited by a PBM where my pharmacist wrote on, instead of on the written date, she wrote the date below the line, and they said that there was no written date. So they recouped not just the dispensing fee, but the copay, the remit, the dispensing fee. And I tried to tell them, look, it says,
it's here.
like 3/2/20, whatever. But they said, well, no, we don't know what that number is.
Extrapolate that with refills.
Exactly. And that's really not the heart of what an audit's supposed to be. So that's kind of like our thought is like, hey, we're trying to do the work, and it's a service rendered, right? So like, yes, the dates of, like the written date was there, is not on the line that says date, but I mean, what are we really trying to do? So it's really helpful for those kind of situations and others. But
that's huge.
It's massive.
Pause on that for a second.
Yeah.
It just
Let's talk about it.
All of those recoupment dollars, people are worried about all the time, that they're always constantly managing and fearful of, and they hate that notice, right? Oh, I'm getting a desktop audit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude.
I mean, and that's something that I think when, what keeps pharmacies up at night is going to be kind of things like that. And we'll have to look at it a little bit closer, because as we go through and as like the law was signed, and which is huge, which we'll talk about a little bit later too, but we'll kind of look at, practically what does that look like, right? And then also, let's say we are starting to get these audits that come in, how do we kind of report that? But I think that's huge, because again, it's like if we provide the service and it's not something that's, egregious, like
to me, it focuses on like the right intent.
That's right.
Right? Like it just helps like put into codify, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
The proper intent.
And that's what the audit's supposed to do, right?
And as you've been close to 19 in those 21 legislative sessions, do you feel you're getting more momentum now because those bills are intentional, but there's also a lot of discussion of enforcing,
Right, and that's kind of what we saw too, and that's one of the reasons why that part about identifying the plans was important, right? So what happens is you pass a bill and they say, great, PBMs can no longer do this.
Yeah.
Now, great. It's great because like we have anti-steering, but like, I have a letter from my own insurance plan that says, hey, you can't fill this anymore at your pharmacy. You have to go to this pharmacy, and that's literally steering. So again, when you report that to TDI, you have to have a certain thing to do. But again, to help identify, because again, there might be some plans that applies to, some that they don't.
Sure.
But again, the whole point was like, if you were trying to complain to TDI about an issue or some sort of like breach in what was the law, like there was no way to identify it correctly. So that was kind of where the heart of this bill was like, okay, we passed that in 1921. We have it like examples of things not being followed, but then the process to actually report them is so tedious. And hey, Jonathan, can you bring your insurance card in, or can you send me a picture? Because I need to make sure that it's exactly the right type of plan, so I can, you know, so all that.
There's
stuff
no way
is
to
great.
know in your system at all,
Exactly.
unless you have the image of the card in your system.
Yeah, and with
one has it.
yeah, and with those kind of government agencies, it's kind of like, you know, squeaky wheel gets the grease. So if they go through and they say, hey, yeah, we passed that pharmacy bill. How many pharmacies complain about problems? And if no one's reported it because it's so hard to find, they're like, oh wow, they must be super compliant. So it's one of those things where it's like, you know, like, you know, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. We talk about that in healthcare all the time. Kind of same thing when it comes to like enforcement of legislation.
That's fair.
If no one's complaining, or if they're not hearing people of like, you know, in violation, they're going to just assume that things are operating the way that they should. So just because you pass that legislation, the actual enforcement part that's the big question I get. Like, oh, great job in Texas. This is awesome.
High fives and handshakes.
Yeah. Is it going to be enforced, or, well, how are they going to enforce it? And then that's the kind of thing that we need to kind of work with our pharmacies in Texas and then our different groups, and just make sure that if and when we find issues that aren't being done the right way, that we have a mechanism to report that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to clarify real quick. What's TDI mean?
It's the Texas Department of Insurance.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm so bad about. I use acronyms in my life all the time, and it's usually what Marsha humbles me when my wife humbles me when I'm like, she's like, say it again, man. Say the words.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And we love TDI, and but again, like from a government agency standpoint, we need to be working with them and doing everything we can to make it as easy as possible. So when we have that issue, it's like we need to also think about how can we help these government agencies do what they're trying to do and make it easy for them. So like I said, I don't want anyone to think I'm saying anything bad against TDI.
No,
like,
nobody is.
We're really here to work with them because that's what they're here for, and that's what they want to do, is make sure that things are being followed.
That's a huge win.
Oh, it's awesome.
Thanks.
It's
like,
cool.
I don't know, everyone who like, I know I wrote my legislators, but also like Texas Pharmacy Association, all the other associations. Good, big win.
Oh, it's huge.
There's another one, kind of a cleanup bill, Jonathan, you were talking about with insulin.
Yeah, was that a House bill like 632, I believe? Can you share a little bit more from what I got from it was day supply scenario of anything that is going to be over a certain amount, we can dispense 30 days? Is that what we're...
So it's a great, the word that they used in, because I went and testified in the Senate a few weeks ago, and the wording that they use is like a common sense kind of like cleanup. And so currently there is a law right now that says, hey, if someone is out of insulin, you know, we can provide a 30-day emergency supply, right? But the law specifically says it cannot be more than a 30-day supply. But the issue with that is, let's say you have an insulin vial that is 100 units and they're only using 2 units a day. That's a 33 or 30, whatever, I can't do math, but 30 something day supply. No, it's not. It's a 50-day supply.
It's like,
Units,
I can do math. I promise. I got you. But yeah, it's going to be more than 30.
Final answer.
Yes, perfect. So it's going to be more than 30, and so that kind of helps, or that would kind of cause especially a lot of the chains.
Sure.
They would have to build in a policy to say like, hey, we don't want to be in violation, so we don't want to do this. Or even for independence, right?
It's like a patient away who's out of
right,
insulin,
exactly.
Right?
And so like the law was there to make sure that we could provide that for people that are in need. But again, sometimes people don't think about practicality of the size of vials, or like an insulin pen. You can't just give them half an insulin pen, right?
Right.
So I think for that one, that was huge, because it was just more of like wanting to make sure that the intent of the law was there, but really just make sure that there's no penalization for the fact that the vial, that's just how the vial comes. That's just how the pen comes. And so it was really cool to see like wide support on that, and we'll have to double check to make sure if it actually crosses the finish line and things too. But like I said, I should keep track of it. But that was one thing that when I was testifying on that, I mean,
Yeah.
Any questions? They're like, nope.
Everyone's like, makes sense.
Yeah, like I said, it's like common sense bill. And I was like, all right, this is great.
Hard to refute. Love
Yeah.
it. It sounds like a layup. I hope it does become one procedurally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And first thing I go to is we need to make sure the documentation is there
That's
for
right.
auditing. We want to fine tune all that as we're moving this forward, and it's getting
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point.
That is a good segue into just like, it seems like overall there's just great, you said the word momentum. I look at it as like payoff of education efforts across the U.S., right? If you really just look at every state has got now some, like Josh talked about it in his talk, have some type of just, I'll just say PBM regulation in some way, or some legislation that's passed in some way. So, and then what's happening, a little bit of momentum now at even the federal level.
Right, yeah.
I know none of that's happening as fast as anybody wants it to, but it just
the conversations
goes to show
that we had,
how you can't like kind of take your eye off the ball with that, and it matters.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so interesting too, because like one of the cool sessions here was a discussion with like Scott Pace, and he's so knowledgeable about all of that. But there's something that he mentioned, that there's a lot of confusion being thrown around because they're trying to like you said, like just education, right? Like who's a PBM, like the acronyms, right? Yeah. Who's a PBM? Who's a PSAO? Who's TDI? Who's TPA? Who's TMA? Like all these different things are being thrown around, because that was one thing that they were mentioning, is that like one tactic legislatively that people were trying to, or that PBMs were trying to do, is that they were trying to push some of the blame onto some of the PSAOs, or kind of like say that, oh, well, we don't control that. There's some other things. And so trying to educate not just like legislators, but sometimes even pharmacists. Like I asked all my students and some of my current pharmacists that work for us, it's like, hey, like, do you know what a PSAO is? Right. And like, if you ask me the acronym right now, I probably don't remember it, but like the functionality of what they do is something that, unless you're an owner or someone that deals with the heavy operations, you kind of don't think about,
it, right?
Which is great, because like they do a service, and you hope you don't have to think about your PSAO,
honestly.
But I do think it's important for us to kind of have that like education. And it's kind of something that you and I or all three of us have been talking about, is how different legislators have been talking about it. Because like, haven't you all seen that too, of like how the legislators have been just mentioning it and talking about that,
Yeah, I think it's easy to say, as we've gained some momentum over the last, can we say 10 years?
I think we can say 10. It's probably been 30 to 40 or whatever it is. Like honestly, everybody's been working on it, but 100%.
Is that it's growing out of that infancy stage where we can address it. Right. The conversations that we're having, maybe they're a little bit more meaningful and impactful because, that language has been out there for that time. So that's been cool. Real quick, Louisiana. Is making some progress as well.
Right. Yeah.
I'm excited, and maybe by the time this rolls out, we'll have something, victory to celebrate there. So we'll see.
They're looking at something closer to Arkansas's bill.
Yeah.
Basically, kind of banning a PBM from owning, I'll just say a retail pharmacy or a pharmacy at all in the state. Very similar to that, I think, is what they're looking at too.
Yeah. And it'll be really interesting too, because like in Arkansas, it was so huge, and it was like a good. I would have never thought that would even be possible. But I mean, like, it's that Arkansas is like doing so much good work with like just PBM legislation, just pro pharmacy things in general.
Sure.
But like when I was reading the news article when it came out, there's 23 of those specific like brick and mortar chains that would be closing down from PBM/pharmacy owned, but a lot more mail order issues as well, right? But in Louisiana, the number of chain pharmacies it affects is a lot more. I think it's almost close to like 80 or 90 or 100 even so too, right? So a larger scale. But I think it's gonna be really interesting too, to be like trying to figure out, number one, I think it's telling too, because the governor of Arkansas even mentioned like, wow, I think it's really telling that if you're choosing your PBM business over your brick and mortar business, like that's all you need to know, that they're picking, anybody but the people, right?
Sure.
You're caring about everybody but the patient. And that's coming from the governor. And like, I mean, like even like there's some quotes from like some of the senators, and the SB 1236 was unanimously passed, out of like the House and the Senate. And
it's
like
another good example, like.
Yeah, and like just hearing some of the back and forth of people talking about PBMs, about like, one of the senators talks about it being a black box. It's like, no one knows what goes on inside of it, and we need to find out, and it needs to come to light, and it needs to be transparency, and there needs to be, they're working in the shadows, and all these different words describing it. And I was like, that's wild to hear, like, legislators talking in everyday language to, either the full Senate or in a committee. Like, you don't hear that stuff.
Or just to the public in general.
Yeah, right? So I love it, and it's really cool. And like, I'm looking forward to seeing, by the time this comes out, like, I look forward to seeing what Louisiana does, and then, even nationally too, because I know there's a lot going on there too.
Sure. Well, cool. All right, we'll segue out of legislation. I feel like it's a topic we talk about now almost on every podcast, just because there's so much change,
which is awesome.
All the time.
I wish. So, let's talk
honestly, if we do it every podcast for the next couple of years, and everything's great afterwards, it'll be all worth doing from there. But let's go I guess into the pharmacy a little bit with at Tarrytown. So for anyone who doesn't know, Tarrytown's in Austin, Texas. I just wanted to talk through a little bit of first half of the year is kind of in the books almost. Yeah. Right. Yeah. What are you working on in the second half of the year for you? Yeah,
for sure. So I think this year's really been I would say kind of like a focus on optimization, right? So I think in the past, we've talked about kind of having to chase the next thing that is there, like the opportunity that's in front of us. So, we just got through all the COVID stuff, and I know a lot of people have been doing like the compounding or the GLPs and stuff like that too. Yeah. So I feel like there's always something going on, but I think for me, I'm really trying to hone in on optimizing. So what is going to, for the amount of time that we put into it, what are we going to get the max return or ROI? Right. And so for us, really trying to focus on some of the core things that we can grow, right? Like you can go out and try to grow your script count. You can try to go and, you can market some things as well, which is great. But from when you look at your business as a whole, I'm really trying to focus on growing immunizations and then focusing on more long-term care, specifically assisted living and memory care. But then also, sometimes when you get so busy, and you may be at home or Jonathan with the kiddos and stuff.
Never.
And then you stop and you just look around your house and you're like, oh man, I have to do some cleanup, right? Yeah.
Yeah, got to get
your house in order. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. And so that's kind of what it's been like for us too. It's just kind of taking a step back and looking around and just looking hey man, we have a bunch of people come through our immunization rooms. The walls are a little beat up, it's is it looking nice, or do we need to update some things? And, is our pharmacy as organized, as clean as can be? Even something down to maximizing our automation, what are the things in our robot? And I'll tell you a story about that later, but it's all these little things that add up to efficiencies, right? So we're already doing the work. So what are some things that maybe we didn't, look under the hood lately and see how we can optimize it? What are some things that my employees are kind of complaining about operationally, or some things that are a little bit slower that we haven't had time to really sit down and kind of figure out. So when it comes to the last half, it's really just optimizing our efficiency and just making sure that the house is in order, and then really growing. And we've already been kind of doing it for the last 3 to 4 months, but growing immunizations and growing our long-term care side.
Okay, cool. I wanted to just kind of speak to one of those things you mentioned about getting your house in order.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more. You guys are, a fined oil machine right now. But
I feel like it's in pretty good order.
Yeah. Well, and I think about your staff. I know you probably lean on them tremendously.
Definitely, yeah. They're great.
Size-wise, I don't know where you guys are total, but I do want to ask, as far as, are there committees? Do you guys have internal committees? Or are there advisory meetings? How do you guys feel whenever you do decide, hey, we're going to get things in order, how do we make sure it's intentional?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a couple different ways that we kind of divide it out. And so I kind of call them kind of departments, right? So we have specific things that I think we can focus on. So number one is the retail pharmacy, right? So you have the pharmacy department, but then you have the front end. So not just OTCs, but we have a full-on gift shop. I know those that have been to Tarrytown, it's we've got
incredible
candles, women's clothing, we have seasonal items.
One of one.
Greeting card.
It has saved me on many occasions.
Yeah. It's so fun. I always tell the joke of you see these men walking in, they're grabbing the card and some stuff, and they're like, oh, it's my anniversary tonight. And they're like, thank you. So
the team's already directing them where to go, what's in
That's
food.
Right. We gift wrap and all that stuff. But the front end, so the front end's something that's and when I talk to my students about this, we talk diversification, right? So if you're just a filling pharmacy, you basically have like a chair that has like just one leg, right? And then you want to add another support. And then you have maybe like, our non-sterile compounding, you have the front end, you have the pharmacy. And now what's so cool is like we've grown our immunizations so much that I consider immunizations by itself as its own column.
So its own swim lane now.
It's its own lane now too, which is huge. And then long-term care, right?
Yeah.
And so what we do is we have someone that kind of is overseeing kind of each one. I handle, like the pharmacy. I work with one of my pharmacists who's awesome, Ellie. She does our all of our immunizations, so she's the director of immunizations. And then we have long-term care, which we're spending a lot of time in, but we have a great pharmacy team over there that has a lot of experience, so I can lean on them. And then our front end, so we have some things where we talk about the store globally, and there's some things that are symbiotic, right? So flu season's coming in, so I tell them, all right, front end, you better stock up on every gift you have, every whatever, because we're about to send, 1,000 people every, few days through our pharmacy. There better be some stuff for them to buy while they wait, right?
Oh, that's
we're about to do all these school vaccines. That's one thing that I thought was so funny. It's like whenever you do all like the little pediatric ones or even the college ones, vaccines, like making sure you have what they need. Like we have a toy section, right? So we would get wiped out of all of our toys when it's flu season for the kiddos. And so, or when it's around Christmas time, it's like, stock up on that stuff. So we kind of do these meetings where we kind of coordinate, and it's great too. We have a new accountant who's really sharp, and we'll have meetings where he's like, all right, let me show you how the last month was, and tell me what you're working on next month so we can be ready for it, right? So that's something that's huge, but we have a lot of planning meetings specifically around procedures. Like actually, we're just switching to our credit card processor too.
That's right.
So that's huge because we have to coordinate between front end, our pharmacy, our delivery drivers, because we're having to make sure everyone is on the same page. We're going to have to collect some new cards and stuff like that too. So making sure that whenever we're doing this, I have these kind of people that help like just keep their team in line. They can help train and stuff like that too. So that's one. But then really I don't know, I rely on my pharmacists so much. Megan, Ellie, Julie, and like Chris. And so they're so good. And a lot of the things that we do, or a lot of change that happens, I kind of start it with them. It's like I spend a lot of my time training, coaching, trying to talk through things with them. Hey, why would this work? Why would this wouldn't work? Or, hey, this is what I want to do. They tell me it's a bad idea. And I'm like, cool. And they give me better ideas. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. But no, I think that's great because it's like, I always heard it's like, the best idea is never the first, and so it's like, hey, why don't you just keep honing it? And like, why do you think of call it poking holes in it, right? Like just, hey, tell me all the reasons why this wouldn't work. And if we can solve it now, that'll save us pain in the future. So it's a good process, but I rely on the pharmacists so much because a lot of what we do is we talk about it, and then they're the ones that are on the ground teaching our techs, trying to make sure that they, maintain it. Cause again, I'm not on the bench anymore. So I'm not going to be there, at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday to make sure that our part-time students are doing the right thing with sync and stuff like that. So making sure all of the pharmacists are trained the right way and are doing the things that need to happen. So
that's huge. I'll stay in the vaccination department.
Oh yeah. I like that department
for a second.
Yeah.
One, it's like one of the few organizations that's probably like just doing as many as y'all do. One is just huge, but like you're running into flu season right now, about to be anyway. You said stocking up on some of the retail items. I didn't even think about that from a perspective of like,
I didn't.
You're about to be pumping a bunch of people through there. Go do it. Like, where are you leveraging any or utilizing any technology to try to like streamline some of that? Like, I think you guys do still some scheduling, and we've talked about this before.
Yeah, for sure.
You talked about a good perspective of like, some folks in like some of the meetings you've been in around here, like, hey, look, like I don't want to do it because only like 20% of my folks do it. I guess react to that. Yeah.
So I've heard that the whole time because that was the same pushback that we had before we instituted a lot of our technology. So online scheduling is huge for us. And we do that even in the nursing homes too. So if we're doing a clinic in a nursing home, we will give them a dedicated link. So it's like, Mark's Assisted Living. Hey, Mark, here's your link. For them. Because what's nice about it too is like sometimes it's not even the resident doing it, it's the family member. And so maybe that 75, 89-year-old resident can't do it, but their medical POA can, right? So we're starting to hit that age of patient where the 55 to 70-year-olds can do it.
Yeah.
But then the people that are older than that probably have a family member helping out anyway. And I think my argument for that is always, hey, if you have, and it's kind of like the automation thing that Josh was talking about earlier, if you have 100 people that need a vaccine and your online form can make it 90% more efficient, and only half of those people use it. Sorry, I'm throwing a lot of numbers. So of the 100 people, if 50 people use your online scheduler and that saves you time, that's still 50 people that you're not having to manually type, manually have a person do, right? Because again, we use the bulk upload through Pioneer, which, dude, it's such a game changer.
Yeah.
But even if you're not doing that, an RX template, stuff like that too. And I was talking to some people too, where it's like, I had some resistance to some of that change too. And so whenever we were trying to implement some of the templates or some other stuff, we did this Paul Bunyan kind of competition where I had a tech that was like, Rannon, I'm faster than this process. And I was like, cool, we'll do it.
Oh,
here's the
so y'all
patient.
chopped the tree.
We did. I was like, all right,
Wow.
This is the patient. Here, we made a copy. This is the patient. You type that vaccine, I'll type it. We'll see who's faster, right? And this is one of my most experienced techs.
Yeah.
He's so fast. And this was several years ago too, and he was like, like trying to do it. And then I was just like, equals flu, boom, done. Like, like, all right, we're good, So I think sometimes, especially for our team, a lot of people are hesitant because their team hates change, which my team hates change, but sometimes we have to do it. But also they just can't see it. Like they can't see the end goal, right? We came to Pioneer. We saw Johnathon do the demo. Like, someone came to our store and showed us. But until you show your team that, they'll be so resistant,
Yeah. Maybe that had to happen for the buy-in with the rest of the team.
That's right. And that's kind of how it was with our sync too, right? It's like, I always heard the quote where it's like, put your best people on the biggest opportunity, not the biggest problem.
Right.
Because that's usually what happens, right? Something happens and we take, hey, Johnathon, I know that I can give you this problem and it'll get fixed, and you just keep heaping problems on people.
Yeah, playing defense, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what happened with our sync. And that's why I heard some people too. It's like, yeah, sync's good, but like, we have 4 different people doing it, and one person's great, but the other 2 aren't, and this other person's okay. But a long time ago, we took our best tech out of the pharmacy, and I won't say best because all of our techs are really good, but one of our fastest, most experienced techs out of the pharmacy just to do sync, because I was like, if it's gonna work, it has to be run by someone that's just gonna get it. And it's been good for us. And so all that to say, like for the technology standpoint, it's like, it's not an all or nothing. Even if it's a little bit,
It's fair.
Yeah, find out how it can help.
Yeah. I'm gonna fangirl real quick over your website.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Anybody go to it? Go check his website out. It's like the most richest, I'm just gonna say it publicly. It's
sure.
Like, just
Appreciate that.
all of the, literally just everything you do, it's described in there, how y'all do it. Like you're setting expectations for patients in there. Like it's just such a chef's kiss. Like if you actually take the time as a patient to go, okay, cool, what can I do in here? You're gonna land in Tarrytown and it's gonna be exactly how it's done in there. So you've curated a great.
I know, I appreciate that, yeah.
And that's, I guess it's safe to say, because I know you touch a lot of it. Is that a passion project?
I think it is. I think it was born out of necessity, but also I think it's something that I enjoy. And from a visual standpoint,
Sure.
I've always been very not critical of websites, but I've just really enjoyed when things are nice and clean and stuff to get to. But it's funny, I appreciate the admiration, but it's funny guys, our director of immunizations, Ellie, she actually just told me, she was like, hey Rannon, we need to talk because our website's kind of a mess. Yeah, but when it comes to immunizations, which it is, but that's what I think is so great is having such a great team. It's they're always looking at ways it can improve, because from her aspect, she handles all of the clinics and the coordinations. And so she was like, there's sometimes where someone will go to her website and they don't realize that, sometimes I've almost made it too granular, where I'm like, I have our normal vaccinations, but then I have our travel vaccinations. And so she was saying that sometimes patients are like, oh, I tried signing up for my yellow fever vaccine through the regular page, but we have to go through a consult kind of paywall before we do that.
She's like, Rannon, you over-engineered this.
Yeah, which I'm guilty of a lot of times. But part of that was just a little bit of the control thing, which I'm okay not having control of things, but for the website, I'm very particular, and it was very frustrating to have to go back and forth with someone to be like, all right, there's a typo in the second paragraph, delete that. Okay, I'll refresh my page. No, that comma's still there. Can you change it?
Not that one.
Yeah, and
The
so
one, right?
yeah, so it's been really nice, and like the tools now are so. I mean, actually, just out of curiosity, because someone sent me a TikTok of like, which I'm not on TikTok, but I watched it. But it was like someone that was like, hey, I'm gonna create a fitness brand, a fitness website, a fitness logo, all through like AI. And so literally within like a 45-second thing, it was like, all right. And so I was,
an hour,
yeah, so I was just curious. So I just like created like, someone at the store does interior design. And so I was like, let me just make an interior design website. And then the tools are so good now. You can just, even the content, you can say, I need content for this, and be like, like making the Johnathon website. Like, I need content for Johnathon, like at .com, and be like,
sure he's got
this
great
is my,
hair.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
There's a balance with that website because of those vaccines and this being such a significant part of what you all are trying to do, scheduling and forms and all. I think there's a balance there. I'm sure maybe it wasn't always this easy for you, but crafting that experience, right? Because you guys have an amazing pharmacy. That gift shop is there. What do you put at the front of it? So
yeah, so I think at the front of it, I think one thing that's really cool about us is like just like the way our store looks. And so on the front page, I've always wanted that picture of our pharmacy, right? Because a lot of times when you think of a pharmacy, you can't quite picture it, or you picture something different, right? You might picture a big chain or like an older store. So I love the look of our pharmacy. So I mean, I need to update the photo, but like I took in like a photo, like I drove to the pharmacy every morning for like 2 weeks waiting for like the sunrise to be perfect. So I took like a sunrise picture of the pharmacy, and that's the one that's on our website. Yeah. And so,
so it's passion project.
Yeah, exactly. But
you had a vision there.
But it was just something that I was like, I love the look of it. And then I think I would love to get your perspective of, because you guys navigate websites all the time, or just even in our consumerism like thing, it's like, what do we look for? So I think easy navigation is one, but also it's kind of like people aren't going to scroll to the bottom of your page probably. So what are you presenting them at the very front,
Yeah, the meat of what you want to say, right? Like really what differentiates you. I think I'll do a good job of that too. And then really like I get like so, I don't know, I'll rage quit a website. If I got to put in like, if you need 37 pieces of information for you to just call me back.
Right, yeah.
Oh man, I'll rage quit a website.
Yeah.
So just like user friendly.
Or pop-ups, right? Like how many websites come in and it's like cookies and pop-ups, and you're having to like, which one's a tricycle? And you're like, oh.
The second that thing thinks you're leaving, it's boom, like here you go.
I'm glad he said it, because for me, I feel like I'm cynical whenever I get to him. If I don't know what the business is inside of 30 seconds from your webpage, I'm probably out.
Yeah, I get that.
Good stuff. So all right, so back to back. You said something about your your Parada. Or you're gonna hey, look, you're gonna organize there and try to get workflow more efficient.
Yeah, for sure.
That a little bit.
So it's a little embarrassing. So like I'm saying this out of like vulnerability with you guys.
It's good.
Yeah,
base.
Exactly. Yeah.
My mom will see this.
I know it's perfect. Yeah, and I feel bad too, because like I just saw like a post on like the independent pharmacy Facebook group or whatever that was like, how often do you update your robot? And people are like, every 6 months. But for us, it's probably been a lot longer than. I mean, we're talking like years. And so again, when it comes back, and this is why it's really good for us to look at things of like before, because even like we were looking at just like, hey, before we like hire that new person or get that extra part-timer or grab that new undergrad student, it's like a part of me was just like, we have to look at what we're currently doing and what we could do better. And it's just something that of an idea that was like brought up to me by like Mark, and he was like, hey, like what drugs do we have in the robot? And he was like, and are they the most like the ones that we frequently do?
Sure.
So I have to do, like it's nice that I was able to run reports. So I said, hey, show me the top 400, and again, like I don't want brands in our robot, because again, also with reorder points too, we went through and we're like, hey, what do our brand reorder points look like? And why are we like, are they too high? Are they too low? Because that's money on our shelf too, right? So
should we be pushing them to the robot or not?
Pushing the robot. And my thing is sync, right? Sync's the answer. It's like, rather than keep on, 5 bottles of a brand in case someone came in, it's like, just say, hey, you're on this expensive brand. Like I can make sure we never run out for you and get refills. Okay, cool, great. And it's really that easy. But all I'd say for the robot, ran a report of all the top 400 generic drugs, and we, I got rid of the ones that like, it was like a vaccine. We can't put a vaccine in there, or like, a box, like an inhaler, right? So looking at the top 400 generics, but like of the top 10 drugs, like probably only 3 of them were in our robot. And so Yeah. So that was, and for me, but again, that's like a failure on me because I'm like, I kept my eyes off the ball. I wasn't checking with my team of being like, hey, like, why are we going back and forth like 50 times a day for this one drug? And it's always in the has been used like bin, like to be put up, like that should be in our robot. So it's something that like was huge for us. So what we did, I mapped it, 1 to 400. And then I said, find the lowest used one, remove it, and put the next highest one on there. The lowest one, do that. And then now we have probably like, the top of the ones that can be in the robot, like now the like top 150 or 60, except for a few that are too small or can't fit or whatever. But now, I mean, it's just, I know now that, because I think the number 2 used drug, it was like, it's like probably like 300 to 400 RX fills like in a 2-month period. So now you're saving 400 like times that your team grabs a bottle, pours it, fills it, and we have like the like a Bivins machine and stuff too. So like that's helpful. So someone's not having to count it, but still, it's like a lot of like touch points. So that's something that was huge. So it's kind of embarrassing to say, but now like we have a cadence. I built like kind of like a macro to figure out, so it's a little bit easier for us. But so it's just something like that where it's just like man, like we've been so busy, and again, it's fine. We've been so busy doing all this other stuff, but like like we talked about the house analogy, is a living room a mess? Right. And it's like, when was the last time we vacuumed under this carpet? It's like, it's been a while. So it's been cool to see. And it's been good for the team just because now, it's one of those invisible things where you make that change slowly, or, it took the course of, 6-7 days for us to get all those cells changed out, and our tech way did a great job. But then now it's like, you can feel it.
You just need your distributors to not change any NDCs.
That's it.
I know. But even then too, because it's like, even if they do change NDC, and that was another thing that was a little tricky too. You have to map it by GCN. So it took me a little bit of brain power to do that. But other than that though, even if it does change NDC, I'm like, it's still worthwhile. Because it's like, okay, cool. Like maybe it takes like 5 minutes to change out like the calibration or whatever, and then you're good for the next however many months. But that was really cool. And so I think those are the kind of things that are also fun too, because a lot of the projects we work on, I feel like you guys are the same way. It's like task or a project. And I feel like I work on so many projects now that like, I just want a task where I can just be like, done.
Can we
done.
Can we call that maintenance, right? And it happen. We got to get there. I think about pricing being one of those. Sometimes we have conversations go, when's the last time you looked at your cash pricing? And I'm not.
I need to look at mine.
Say it's wrong.
No, I need to look at mine.
It's something that just needs attention eventually.
Yeah, for sure. And things change.
I love a good like quick dopamine hit.
That's right.
That's fair.
Of checking off a thing, because you don't get, especially at your level, you don't get as many opportunities to get the easy ones. Sometimes, man, sometimes you just want to be like, all right, I just want to sit down and do this, and you're just like, great, cool.
But Jonathan, what about you, man? Like, because that's kind of like what it was for us. But what do you like when in your time in the field? Like, what are some of those things what are those things cleaning their house like people aren't doing, or what are people missing?
I think a lot of times it was coming in and going, look, I'm the guy coming into your pharmacy.
Sure.
I want to build a relationship with you, and let's kind of unpack what you think is primary. What's the things we want to put at the forefront? A lot of times it was just kind of taking a step back, reviewing maybe what workflow was. And you're building a relationship, there's trust there. And then that's going to evolve. Ordering is one of those. And you got to be up for that project because it is a project.
It's a task.
And I think one of the bigger successes I always saw was if we can get your inventory dialed in, that really lends itself into those conversations with MedSync. And whenever you can actually go and run that report and show those turns, that people are kind of all in at that point.
So. Yeah. Once they get that money off the shelf and in their pockets, it's real then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so last thing I want to touch upon in your pharmacy, and I think we have we hired one of them.
That's right.
From there. So man, you have a great residency program. It's with you. Is it with UT?
Yeah. So it's affiliated with UT.
Tell us about it. You have a huge one there.
Yeah, for sure. So it's something that kind of started. Our first resident was in 2018. So Trey Burry, which is awesome. Trey's awesome. But it was something that there were so many things that we were wanting to do, and there were so many things specifically like when I came back in 2015, 2016, like the first thing I wanted to do was expand immunizations because like we were only offering flu and pneumonia. and my mentor at the time, or actually still my mentor, and actually she works for us now, which is great. Professor Rush, she basically gave me a 5-year plan of all the things I wanted to do vaccine-wise, and one of it was to expand our offering. So not just flu pneumonia, but what about, like in Austin, there's a bunch of bats that live under the bridge. Right. So throw in rabies, right? We have, Japanese encephalitis, we have yellow fever, we have all these, Hep A, B, RSV, all these different things that we do now. But so that was like kind of like key to do that. And also I want to do offsite clinics, right? So when I was just doing it by myself, I literally would take time before because I was still working on the bench pretty much full time then. So I was doing a lot of, like before my shift, I would try to do a few clinics. And like, I think 2016, 2017, I did like 10 immunization clinics, right? But I was like, that's all I could manage because it was just me. It was just me and another pharmacist. So now, like you mentioned team, we have a lot bigger of a team now, but it was just me and another pharmacist and a part-time pharmacist, right? Okay. Working in our retail side. And I was like, I just don't have enough hours in the day. I can't do it. I need someone that's smart, motivated, and someone that can actually like help with these projects. But also, no one ever teaches you the financial side. No one ever teaches you how to do processes. So when we designed the program, it was an ownership and management residency for people that wanted to own or run their own pharmacy one day. Like, how do we do that? So we worked with UT, we're affiliated. So they're great partners. They help folks to get experience in academia, also get access to all the great like online resources that pharmacists always miss when they graduate. But yeah, it was great. So having Trey on board that first year, we went from 10 or 13 clinics to we did 70 that year, And so just having someone that's smart and motivated and we can work on projects together. And then again, like I go through like P&L, financials, how to look through contracting. And so it's a great opportunity for people that are like wanting to do that. But every time you talk to like anyone, like any like owner or PIC or whoever, they're like, man, no one ever taught me that, or no one ever taught me whack minus blank percent plus, whatever. So, or how to look at a PBM contract or a wholesaler contract and what's a GCR. And so, all fun acronyms that,
What a great crash course. Maybe they didn't expect they'd be getting.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really kind of what we
full-fledged pharmacy MBA program as well at the same time.
Yeah, it really is. And it's so cool because it's like my team's so awesome. So they get to really learn from not just me, but like all my team, from Ellie on immunizations, from, Megan about just how to handle like scheduling and stuff. Like how do you schedule techs and how do you schedule students and how do you work through things and how do you handle your inventory? So there's a lot of opportunity for that growth. And we've had a great, just like a star-studded list of like our residents like in the past and like Jess and Alex and, like Fuller and like just so, like everybody's been so awesome. And so Madison was our last resident who like stayed on and now she's, working in our long-term care side. And so, we just have such great people that just love pharmacy and love learning. And it's been so fun, just fun for me because it's like you learn the most by teaching, but then also it's just so awesome to have someone that's so young and motivated and they're just fresher, they know more, and they
give you energy too, man.
Yeah,
they give you energy.
It does, yeah. So it's awesome. So it's a lot of fun.
Okay, cool. We'll wrap up a little bit. So first time we've done this podcast at Connect. I'm asking a Connect question, I guess. Kind of what if you like? What's kind of the one thing you kind of took away from Connect being here this time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me, and it's kind of the same thing. The one thing I always take away is just how much fun it is to just connect. Yeah. But just to see everybody again, to connect. There's some friends that I have that, this is the only conference that we see each other, right? Like this and maybe one other national one. We all have different wholesalers, but and it's just so fun to get to see them downstairs at the trade show or meet up or grab lunch or grab dinner and just, hang out. So I think that's a big takeaway for me is just how much experience is in this room. And especially now, this is, I think y'all tell me one of the biggest.
Top two.
Top two. Oh, see, there you go. We're batting top two.
It is top two.
But it's literally one of the biggest. And that's the thing that's so fun too, being in Texas now. It's so cool. I see there's so many of my friends here in Texas even that are driving a few hours and sometimes I don't get to see them that often because they're, 6 hours away from us. And so I think that part's huge. But one of my big takeaways is the potential, and I think Josh mentioned it in his talk earlier, maybe yesterday, but the potential for what cool things like artificial intelligence can do within pharmacy, but also not just within pharmacy, but within the software itself, you know? So I know we had talked about it, but kind of what are y'all seeing on that, or what are some of the things that you guys are excited about on your side?
Mark, I'll let you unpack some of that.
Kind of two different categories I look at is like the ability to, and I get to like be down the office from the guy kind of doing all this
nice,
too,
yeah.
which is great. Like he gets to like,
Inside track.
usually passes my office running into Josh's office about
awesome.
like, hey, this is what it did. And it was great. So I think I watched, I didn't watch, I got to listen to like how quick it handled basically taking 1,500 prescriptions and running them through all the way to the point where they're about to be at the pre queue. That's
cool.
Like, so imagine like not being able to have to like, not having to like basically do data entry one day, and all that stuff, or at least run it up to pre-check so someone can look at it before they release it, you know, and have to like not have to do the rest of that. So that's one aspect of it. But then two, like the ability to probably potentially just keep everyone from getting recouped in audits is another thing. It's like all of it's kind of structured data, and as long as you give it the rules most of the time, it's right most of the time. So and it'll only get better. So those are the two like areas I look at where if, like, I don't know if I had to pick one, which one I'd pick. But, But man, they're both like it's kind of built for those two things that really a pharmacist to me, and the rest of the team members don't want to have to spend a bunch of time. They usually got into the business because they wanted to take care of patients. Yeah, I just think it's going to help with that.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things where it's like, we talked about like, what are you going to miss, right? Because it's like, are you afraid that it's going to take jobs away? Or even, you know, earlier, like a panelist was like, like, let's be honest, like if there's AI that can save things, we have to consider payroll stuff. But even for me, like beyond that, I'm just thinking about from a patient quality, patient experience, right? So imagine that as soon as that ER or that urgent care sends that prescription for Jonathan, you and I know, right? We go and there's an ear infection or there's like something going on with our little one, and like, man, like how many times does someone come in and say, hey, I just left. Oh, sorry, I just see it in the queue now, let me type it, versus, oh yeah, it's literally printed, I'll just move it at the front of the line, you know? So having the ability for it to see that and go through it, and kind of like with our scheduling thing too, like, I don't know what the accuracy percentage is of a technician from a data entry standpoint, and it varies based off of who it is and their experience level and their attention to detail. And so even if AI is right, like you said, 90% of the time, like, but it can save 100% of your data entry, like we're still having to catch a lot of errors anyway. So it's like, if we can save the time, I think that's really interesting. And then, you know, like you mentioned the audit thing, it's like, if this insurance company, they treat this eye drop with 16 drops per ml, and this one is 20. This one's like, no one's gonna remember that. You can have whatever little cheat sheet you can.
Everybody does, right?
Little item comment you want in there, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But if it can just know that like, hey, insurance A, this product, it's 17, this is the quantity, it's gonna spit it out this way, or the doctor wrote it for, this is probably gonna be the biggest thing AI has to do is like, when the doctors write, you know, 1, but it's really, you know, like a package size. So like, how does it differentiate that? But then it's like, okay, split that out and then calculate it. And then that way, you know that when I hit F12, or even before that, when it's hitting F12 on its own, it's saying, this is what it should be, but now it's being rejected. And then you can document it. Or, hey, this is accurate, push it through. So I think that's gonna be super, super interesting. So that's like one of the biggest things that I'm like pretty excited about. And then just, again, I don't know, I'm in like a quick like dopamine hit checkbox. So I sit in on Will's tips and tricks, which is, you know, his last, which, you know, I love Will. And so
everybody does. So do we.
You're gonna miss him.
So he's sat in on that, and there's just like some cool things that like, oh man, that'd be so cool to just turn on, and it's really quick and it'll save my team. Or the best things are the things that work in the background. It's like, I'll turn that on like when I get done with this and no one will know, but it's working in the background. So a lot of those little things that you can activate and turn on. Because again, it's like, man, anything that you can do, like if you can spend 30 seconds on something, but it gives a great return. If you can spend half your day on something and it gives a great, like, you know, feedback or improvement of your patient care and stuff. That's kind of where I'm spending the last part of the year, you know.
Well, good stuff.
As you guys were talking about that. You know, we're sticking with the theme, keeping the house in order. And we talk about, you know, AI and the adoption of it, and are people going to be hesitant? Well, keeping your house in order and you got a vacuum, right? It's not a bad thing to have that Roomba coming through every once in a while.
Hey, that's true.
And after that first few days, you're forgetting about that. That's not part of your deal, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
it's having that maintenance thing.
Yeah. One last thing, I guess, from a sales perspective, because that's like your guys' background and your bread and butter. It's
Sure.
like, what I guess what are the things that you think would be the most what are the most requested, or what are those biggest pain points for customers that aren't on a system that can do, what are they yearning for? What are they wanting?
I'll let you go.
For me, maybe it's not completely software related.
Sure.
Like a feature, but it's really customer service.
Yeah.
That's probably what we hear first and foremost. It's tough to see that too, because that's affecting them. It's affecting their customers, their community. That's probably what I hear the most. But other than that, it's really just unpacking, kind of what we talked about. What are the things that can save you just buckets of time?
Yeah.
And they don't have to be big buckets, 5 or 10 minutes or 20 minutes in your morning. You walk in and your claim's already processed. That can be huge on a Monday.
That's awesome.
So it's that.
Yeah. In the words of Charlie Munger, I have nothing to add.
No notes.
No notes. No notes.
Yeah, what the kids say now.
We hear a lot of stories sometimes about hey, I just can't get anybody to call me back sometimes.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Like that. I hate that for anybody. You don't want to see anybody go. Sometimes there's a patient on the end of that call trying to get a claim to go through.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that's kind of like the pharmacy side too, right? When you're so busy trying to type something, maybe it takes a little bit longer for you to grab that phone when someone's calling. And maybe if you can just free yourself up, you'll be a little more attentive to the patients. Or like you said, spend more time just talking about, hey, how's that vacation? How's your mom doing? How are the sick kiddos? How's your dog or whatever? So kind of building those relationships are huge.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, man, thanks for spending time with us, dude.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I mean,
I know you're busy. I know you probably can't walk 30 feet out that room without getting stopped.
But it's fun though.
But
Yeah,
it's good.
that's what it's about though. It's I love chatting with folks. So I appreciate you. I'm glad you're here too, Johnathon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's so funny. Yeah, I love just our connection way back when, and it was fun.
Pre-kids.
Pre-kids, that's right. Yeah.
We've come
Both of you.
Come a long way.
Both of you.
That's right.
Had kids.
Now we got dad's strength.
That's true.
right.
I thought y'all were much
Either
stronger,
dad strength
both
or
of you.
dad back, because my back hurts all the time now, and then
That's fair.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's fun. It's fun.
I've developed dad needs, I think, as well.
Oh man, yeah, that's coming. Well, I appreciate you guys. Yeah, thanks.
Hey, thanks for being on.